Hey, this is Ken Long from the Curriculum Development Shop, and I want to cover real quickly the main changes that we see coming out of the academic year 2011 post-instructional conference. And that's where we brief the results of what was taught in the core for 2011 to the command group, and these are the issues that we see. The first one is in C100 in the C120 critical thinking block. In the Feb start, there's going to be a C120 pilot. The general design idea is that we're going to move to a C120 being taught with 5 2-hour lessons as foundational. And then the design idea is that there will be 5 2-hour departmental case studies that are taught throughout the core that reinforce these lessons as an apply. There's no time been identified for that. We have suggested, and it looks like it'll be accepted, that we're going to treat F100 as our case study because critical thinking is threaded throughout that. And what we're really looking to do is to take the new language that's coming out of critical thinking pilot and use that to add to our rubrics so that we can show the connection between the critical thinking in C120 and the thinking that we ask them to do inside F100. We think that'll happen. Dr. Morrison and Eric Hollister are working on that. Now in C200, we teach the C210, a 2-hour lesson on strategic logistics. It was felt that that doesn't really align with the other classes that are in that block, and so C210 is going to move to Charlie 300 block. Inside the Charlie 300 block, we teach a combined 3-hour lesson of Army capabilities. The first hour, written by DeJamo but taught by Delro, was on Army headquarters capabilities, and then 2 hours were conducted on operational logistics. That was not very satisfying. What's going to happen is that we're going to split those hours, that the 1 hour goes back to DeJamo, and that we will only teach 2 hours of Army sustainment at the operational level. Now what happens is those the 2 hours from Charlie 210 and now the 2 hours of Army sustainment are going to come together. We've got the lesson and block authors together. Our initial design concept is to treat this as two 2-hour lessons that are taught within 48 hours of each other. And we think the first 2 hours are going to be G&I and discussion that cover the entire gamut of strategic national to strategic theater to operational tasks. In other words, from CONUS to the sustainment brigade. And we see the first 2-hour lessons and the prep that supports it really is talking about principles, planning, and discussion. And then the second 2 hours we see as being an apply. And for example, that could be almost a mini rock drill where we take a look at things perhaps like Class 3, 5 medical and flow that from CONUS all the way into the GAT scenario into a sustainment brigade. That's our initial design concept with 48 hours in between those 2 lessons so we can do prep, G&I and discussion, and then focus prep, and then an application within 48 hours. Now, the next big change is in the C400, 500, and 600 block. The feedback from faculty and students was that moving back and forth between DeJamo and CTAC, or DTAC, was not very effective. And so a decision has been made to take all of the DeJamo chunks that are in 400, 500, 600, and bring that now into C400, which will be a joint block, and then we'll go from doctrine to planning to apply, complete. And then in C500, we'll take the DTAC lessons from C400 and 600 and put that into an Army block in C500, which will be Army, doctrine, planning, and application. So here's where our lessons will move inside in this new structure. Charlie 414, which we taught as 2 hours of Army TAC log, is going to move over into the C500 Army block. We're asking to get more hours, but we may only end up with 2. The 3-hour C503 block that we teach joint logistics, the joint warfighting functions of movement, maneuver, and sustainment, that's going to move from C500 to C400. Now what we have done in the past is we have shared 1 hour of movement and maneuver with DeJamo. DeJamo is now going to pick up all responsibility for movement and maneuver, and we will teach 2 hours of the joint warfighting function of sustainment as part of this doctrine, planning, and application. In C500, then, what we will do is we'll take the 2 hours of Charlie 414 Army TAC log, and we will teach a 2-hour lesson here. Now, they're going to strengthen the 4 case studies for full spectrum operations: offense, defense, stability, and support to civil authority. And we are going to have a Delro lesson co-author who's going to prepare materials on sustainment that pertains specifically to those 4. And in the apply of those case studies, we will have a sustainment function. So we will have sustainment slides, we will have lesson notes, we will have readings, and if there's any evaluation in here, we will be part of that. So we will see the Army TAC log function being strengthened by a focused TAC log, and then maybe 30 minutes out of a 4-hour block for each one of those. Now, the tactical scenario for C500 looks like it's going to unfold in the following way. The unit that's moving will be the 125th SBCT. It'll be inside the GAT scenario. Our current idea is that the 125 is in GAT. It gets activated as part of a border defense, and it has to move from an assembly area to a defense area. That will be the move that is planned as an operation. It has to be sustained, and then we will do a concept of support for the defense of 125. Our current thinking is that will be done at a division level concept of support. Those are the main changes that we see coming out of the PIC so far. So, strengthening F-100's critical thinking rubrics. We will probably have 3 choices instead of just the MRAP. We're probably going to give you 3 choices as part of that. We will strengthen the critical thinking language. We're going to ditch the card game and use the future force simulation, is what it looks like right now. 210 and 304 move together and then get taught in an integrated way, going from CONUS to the sustainment brigade with a GNI session and an apply session. 414 moves over to Charlie 500 Army, the Army block. Full spectrum operations lessons each get a Delro component inside there. The 503 lesson gets reduced just to the warfighting function of sustainment, comes to the joint block, and then the movement that we had tried this year in C600 gets integrated into the operations that have to be planned and supported as part of the application in C500. That's where we stand so far on February 4th, 2011. Thanks for your attention.